This is Dan Piegallini with the Gator Cutlery Club. Leroy asked me to tell a little bit about this switchblade. This knife is actually made in Armenia and is imported. It is a combination doctor and knife maker that actually put the knife together. I've been cutting handle material for them, bone, scales, some buffalo horn, some giraffe bone, etc. The handle material is shipped over to Armenia, comes back. We believe this is some Russian Damascus. Comes back to the United States, puts the new handle grips on. It's an old-fashioned pick lock. You have to pick the lock, close it, and it's a lever for the automatic. Pocket clip or not, either way you'd like. Quality piece, all handmade, custom made.
What's your relationship? You kind of custom
The doctor happens to be a good friend of mine. And I've made custom knives for him in the past.
Okay.
Pick lock.
Very strong lock too, I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
very good. Strong spring and tight lock.
It's got a leaf spring.
Leaf spring, yep. Leaf spring. All stainless steel liners. The newer versions we've dolled up with some file work and this and that, but this is one of the originals.
Okay, Dan, thank you, sir.
Well, for you folks who like beautiful knives, there's a good one for you. It's a very attractive switchblade. It's made in Armenia, all different sort of materials. Every knife is unique, and that is made by a custom knife maker. This is a switchblade in the traditional sense in a lot of ways. It has a lot of things in common with other switchblades. It does have a very unique mechanism, which I sort of discounted at first, but then I actually found it very fascinating. What we're looking at is the front of the knife. There is a projection out front. That is a latch on a spring, and is very typical of a lockback. And if you could look underneath there, you'll see a notch in the blade. So the notch and the latch combination is a very common element in a lockback knife, and this mechanism is seen in many switchblades. The totally bizarre thing about it is that the notch, as well as the latch, are in front of the pivot pin rather than behind. I've never seen this before. It's very unusual. I would think that this sort of a mechanism would be a little bit unstable, but I tell you, I picked the blade up. It is a very stable blade, and locks up quite well. We could also see somewhat to the right is the button release. This is a lever. Again, it's very unusual in that how it is located so far forward. Normally, a lever like this has the latch portion very far forward. Then further back is the button. This is the exact opposite. This is a short lever. The button portion is located forward, almost next to the pivot, and the latch release is to the rear. So it's opposite of what we tend to see in a switchblade. So the inventor of this didn't get the memo that everything has to be put in the rear. He did it forward, so I ended up with a very unique mechanism and actually a sturdy lock. You can also appreciate that the latch is sticking out, and it's about a 1/4 inch out. There's no sharp edges on that, so I don't think it's a big factor in carrying around your pocket or anything like that. So it doesn't look attractive. It doesn't look unattractive. It's sort of industrial looking, and it sort of goes with this knife rather well. It doesn't inhibit the attractiveness of the knife. So what we're going to look at here is the belly of the knife. You can see that the button is on the left side. It protrudes out. It is located on a spring, and you can see the pivot pin. You can see a little bit of the latch portion that is over top of the blade. As Dan said, this is a pick lock. It's the lock bar for the lock back is not on a pivot. It's not on a pivot with a spring. It's just on a large stiff spring. So you have to get your thumbnail under there to get the knife open. And you can see by the red arrows that you do have plenty of room to get a thumbnail under there. So this knife is not difficult to unlock the way some pick locks are, where you really have to just you can only get your thumbnail under. This one you can get your thumbnail, a little bit of your thumb under. The white arrow on top shows how short the tang is. This is a very short tang, and yet the lock is stable. And I think that's attributed to the fact that the liners are thick stainless steel. The bottom white arrow shows the blade pivot, and the small white arrow shows the pivot for the lever button. And as I say, the button does have a leaf spring to bias it, so it's quite a good functional mechanism. And this is a view of the left side. You can see the button, the pivot pin, and with the blade halfway open, you can see how that short tang sort of is necessary, because the latch doesn't come way up like it would if the lock bar was a pivot. The lock bar is all part of a string, so it doesn't come up very far. And you can appreciate that there is a notch also in the blade for the closing mechanism that works with the button release. This is a leaf spring switchblade. You saw the function. It functions very well. It's a beautiful knife, and it has a very unique combination of mechanisms for the open and closed positions.